Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Well, it seems like they just want to discard the Epstein issue entirely, just throw it to the wayside and hope nobody notices. But unfortunately for them, regardless of how far the rabbit hole goes, or how justified they feel in withholding this information from the public, well, this Epstein scandal and the demand for the files is not going away anytime soon. And just because supposedly today there's no incriminating client list, well, it doesn't mean that there's no demand for everything else, and even potentially the non-incriminating client lists. Yeah, I'd say no matter how many distractions they attempt to toss at us this news cycle, the American people are not letting go of this Epstein thing. And you know what? I don't blame them. I totally understand, because it's not just about one man. It's not just about Jeffrey himself. No, it's about a story of power and secrecy, a two-tiered system where the elite get to do whatever they want and never face consequences. And while speaking of said web of corruption, and speaking of just how far the rabbit hole goes, we've got to talk about what might be really happening here, a deep state cover-up, the angle that Jeffrey Epstein was possibly intelligence connected, that he was one of their weapons and they just don't want you knowing the truth. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so let's first start off with this little article snippet right over here. This is from the Evening Standard, dated back to January 22nd, 2001. This is the first time Jeffrey Epstein found himself in legal troubles, where the FBI stumbled upon the file and just magically didn't pursue it, didn't really care for it, despite the serious allegations. But this article basically does a profile of Epstein, talking about his immense wealth, his relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell, his bizarre and unexplainable real estate empire across the United States. But at one point it reads, Epstein once claimed that he, quote, worked for the CIA, though he later denied it. And so that right there, of course, has been the seed of many a conspiracy theory, and I understand why people's brains go there. I mean, you're telling me that a guy who has no real background in finance, no clear source of wealth, and somehow has ties to arms dealers and politicians, royals, billionaires, he's got these shadowy mega mansions all over in the most expensive zip codes, owns a damn island, a private jet, and is hosting parties every weekend. You're telling me that that guy, after finding himself in legal troubles, just casually suggested that he was connected to the CIA? You're telling me this guy who had all these connections to all of these clear targets of interest for intelligence agencies just happened to be in that position, leveraging all of this power and influence? He made a claim that he was CIA while engaging in some of the most horrendous crimes imaginable back in 2001. It came to light and then the FBI just happened to forget about all of it. Poof, it just disappeared. Epstein who? You know, obviously the speculation isn't coming out of people's behinds. It's more so just the natural flow of logic. I mean, fast forward 20 years from that 2001 incident, and even Dan Bongino was saying it.
A year and a half after that, I'm in a green room at Fox, and I'm not going to say who because they didn't give me permission to share it, but well, the short story, but not who they are. It says, you know, Epstein's an intelligence asset for people in the Middle East, right? I'm like, no, I didn't know that. I'm like, you sure of that? The person, let's say, is like, I'm absolutely sure of that he's either a witting or unwitting asset, intelligence asset, meaning his plane and that island, the cameras, there's a big assumption out there that these videotapes were exclusively in the custody of Epstein. That's a huge mistake. The reason they wanted this story to go away is because there's an assumption like, oh yeah, Epstein had him. No, he wasn't the only one who had him, according to this source. These assets, that's why this Blackmail story makes so much sense. Which Middle Eastern countries they are, I don't know. But this person, who's a very, very good reporter, I mean, aces, right? Swore Epstein was either a witting or unwitting intelligence asset, and they may have had his plane wired up, and they're the ones who have all this stuff. So the point is, to sum it up, how do you know some of these countries aren't going to some of these power players who aren't making decisions because, hey, you wouldn't want this video out there, right? How do you know?
100%.
And it's not just Bongino. Steve Bannon has echoed similar suspicions, even just recently.
Appellate court for lack of evidence after he's already been found guilty in a federal court. This is in your face. The reason Epstein, Fenton, you're the pro, you're the tip of the spear here, but my point is Epstein's part of the war against the deep state. You have to take it to its logical conclusion. And part of that is the information has to go out, particularly, it has nothing to do with people being worked up about it. It's about the deep state. It's about the intelligence services. It's about how the intelligence services work with foreign intelligence services. That's the deep state. It's the interconnection with MI6. It's the interconnections with German military intelligence. It's the interconnections with not just the Mossad, but was it Shin Bet? The Israeli military intelligence is better than the Mossad. It's also with some of the Arab states' intelligence services.
And so that, of course, leads the public speculation now to the thinking that the DOJ just clearly doesn't want to release these files because it's not just some names in a black book, and not just to protect innocent people who may have just been tangentially connected to Epstein, unknowing of all the sinister stuff that he was up to. Oh, but potentially it's all to protect their own dirty laundry. You know, it's not hard to imagine why certain agencies or high-ranking officials would want the Epstein scandal buried 6 feet deep. And maybe, just maybe, they thought that they could hand over that initial binder of redacted documents, show up for the photo op, you know, the smiles holding up the binders, and maybe that would be enough to kind of satiate the public temporarily, and hoping the outrage would be the minority and would simply go away. But of course it hasn't. Now, if anything, it seems the push is extra strong, maybe stronger than ever before. We've got Tom Fitton at Judicial Watch going absolutely relentless.
Tom, he sounded pretty definitive there, so what changed?
I think they decided for political purposes they didn't want to include the individuals who were on these lists and put them in the public domain. And they were concerned that some of them may not have done something warranting the disclosure. I mean, that's the most charitable interpretation. You know, but there is a list. There's no doubt. I mean, they talk about in the memo they wrote, well, there's no incriminating client list. Well, what does that mean? I want the non-incriminating client list. And of course, a client list is a term of art, right? Where are his associates? Where is the list of contacts? You know, and we asked under our FOIA lawsuit, Pam Bondi, give us the documents that you say you were looking at. Give us documents about the release of these documents. You said the FBI was obstructing the release. They came back to us and said, we have nothing.
You know, the pressure is on regardless of how sensitive the information is. In some capacity, they need to release the files. The American people need to know, at least, have a general understanding of what the hell happened here, what the implications are, who's complicit, what's going on with these videos, and maybe if there's people who can be clearly identified and held to account for their actions. You know, I guess the question now is this going to be another JFK Files situation where the Epstein files don't see the light of day for decades? Or will the American people finally get some transparency? I guess that's the question. And well, that's a question that only this administration at this current time can answer. I don't know how wise it would be to continue pushing this off, to be honest, because very obviously it's not going away. And if this administration thinks that they could kick the can down the road, well then the pressure will simply follow on to the next guy. Anyways, that's pretty much it. I mean, what else to say? Other than it seems this could very possibly be another deep state cover-up. That's what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.